Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we are going to be in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 1, through chapter 20, verse 21. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to the whole congregation of the Israelites and tell them, 'You must be holy, because I, the Lord your God, am holy. Each of you must respect his mother and his father, and you must keep my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God. Do not turn to idols, and you must not make for yourselves gods of cast metal. I am the Lord your God. When you sacrifice a peace offering, sacrifice to the Lord, you must sacrifice it so that it is accepted for you. It must be eaten on the day of your sacrifice and on the following day, but what is left over until the third day must be burned up. If, however, it is eaten on the third day, it is spoiled, it will not be accepted, and the one who eats it will bear his punishment for iniquity, because he has profaned what is holy to the Lord. That person will be cut off from his people. When you gather in the harvest of your land, you must not completely harvest the corner of your field, and you must not gather up the gleanings of your harvest. You must not pick your vineyard bare, and you must not gather up the fallen grapes of your vineyard. You must leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am the Lord your God. You must not steal, you must not tell lies, and you must not deal falsely with your fellow citizen. You must not swear falsely in my name, so that you do not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. You must not oppress your neighbor or commit robbery against him. You must not withhold the wages of the hired laborer overnight until morning. You must not curse a deaf person or put a stumbling block in front of a blind person. You must fear your God. I am the Lord. You must not deal unjustly in judgment. You must neither show partiality to the poor nor honor the rich. You must judge your fellow citizen fairly. You must not go about as a slanderer among your people. You must not stand idly by when your neighbor's life is at stake. I am the Lord. You must not hate your brother in your heart. You must surely reprove your fellow citizen so that you do not incur sin on account of him. You must not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people, but you must love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. You must keep my statutes. You must not allow two different kinds of your animals to breed. You must not sow your field with two different kinds of seed, and you must not wear a garment made of two different kinds of fabric. When a man has sexual intercourse with a woman, although she is a slave woman designated for another man and she has not yet been ransomed, or freedom has not been granted to her, there will be an obligation to pay compensation. They must not be put to death because she was not free. He must bring his guilt offering to the Lord at the entrance of the meeting tent, a guilt offering ram, and the priest is to make atonement for him with the ram of the guilt offering before the Lord for his sin that he has committed, and he will be forgiven of his sin that he has committed. When you enter the land and plant any fruit tree, you must consider its fruit to be forbidden. 3 years it will be forbidden to you, it must not be eaten. In the 4th year, all its fruit will be holy, praise offerings to the Lord. Then in the 5th year, you may eat its fruit to add its produce to your harvest. I am the Lord your God. You must not eat anything with the blood still in it. You must not practice either divination or soothsaying. You must not round off the corners of the hair on your head or ruin the corners of your beard. You must not slash your body for a dead person or incise a tattoo on yourself. I am the Lord. Do not profane your daughter by making her a prostitute, so that the land does not practice prostitution and become full of lewdness. You must keep my Sabbaths and fear my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Do not turn to the spirits of the dead, and do not seek familiar spirits to become unclean by them. I am the Lord your God. You must stand up in the presence of the aged, honor the presence of an elder, and fear your God. I am the Lord. When a foreigner resides with you in your land, you must not oppress him. The foreigner who resides with you must be to you like a native citizen among you. So you must love him as yourself, because you were foreigners in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. You must not do injustice in the regulation of measures, whether of length, weight, or volume. You must have honest balances, honest weights, an honest ephah, and an honest hin. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from the land of Egypt. You must be sure to obey all my statutes and regulations. I am the Lord. The Lord spoke to Moses, "You are to say to the Israelites, any man from the Israelites, or from the foreigners who reside in Israel, who gives any of his children to Molech must be put to death. The people of the land must pelt him with stones. I myself will set my face against that man, and cut him off from the midst of his people, because he has given some of his children to Molech, and thereby defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. If, however, the people of the land shut their eyes to that man when he gives some of his children to Molech, so that they do not put him to death, I myself will set my face against that man and his clan. I will cut off from the midst of their people both him and all who follow after him in spiritual prostitution, to commit prostitution by worshipping Molech. The person who turns to the spirits of the dead and familiar spirits to commit prostitution by going after them, I will set my face against that person and cut him off from the midst of his people. You must sanctify yourselves and be holy, because I am the Lord your God. You must be sure to obey my statutes. I am the Lord who sanctifies you. If anyone curses his father and mother, he must be put to death. He has cursed his father and mother. His blood guilt is on himself. If a man commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. If a man has sexual intercourse with his father's wife, he has exposed his father's nakedness. Both of them must be put to death. Their blood guilt is on themselves. If a man has sexual intercourse with his daughter-in-law, both of them must be put to death. They have committed perversion. Their blood guilt is on themselves. If a man has sexual intercourse with a male as one has sexual intercourse with a woman, the two of them have committed an abomination. They must be put to death. Their blood guilt is on themselves. If a man has sexual intercourse with both a woman and her mother, it is lewdness. Both he and they must be burned to death, so there is no lewdness in your midst. If a man has sexual intercourse with any animal, he must be put to death, and you must kill the animal. If a woman approaches any animal to have sexual intercourse with it, you must kill the woman, and the animal must be put to death. Their blood guilt is on themselves. If a man has sexual intercourse with his sister, whether the daughter of his father or his mother, so that he sees her nakedness and she sees his nakedness, it is a disgrace. They must be cut off in the sight of the children of their people. He has exposed his sister's nakedness. He will bear his punishment for iniquity. If a man has sexual intercourse with a menstruating woman and uncovers her nakedness, he has laid bare her fountain of blood, and she has exposed the fountain of her blood, so both of them must be cut off from the midst of their people. You must not expose the nakedness of your mother's sister and your father's sister, for such a person has laid bare his own close relative. They must bear their punishment for iniquity. If a man has sexual intercourse with his aunt, he has exposed his uncle's nakedness. They must bear responsibility for their sin. They will die childless. If a man has sexual intercourse with his brother's wife, it is indecency. He has exposed his brother's nakedness. They will be childless. Whew. Went real intense there on immoralities, sexual immoralities. Difficult for me to think of a specific example of this morning, but I was talking with someone regarding treatment of foreigners under Levitical law, and I think it's kind of easy to take specific portions out of context when it comes to that, without realizing the kind of large overriding commands that you have for people in Leviticus. In Leviticus 19:33 and 34, when a foreigner resides with you in your land, you must not oppress him. The foreigner who resides with you must be to you like a native citizen among you, so you must love him as yourself, because you were foreigners in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And all this talk about don't do injustice with measures, and in 19:18, you must not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people, but you must love your neighbor as yourself. I'm the Lord. So, but yeah. It's a point that was made to me before, but I don't think we realize the gravity of sin and what it does to us and to our community. And the laws that were imposed on the Israelites concerning immorality and various other things are very harsh sounding and harsh in practice. But sin is pretty offensive to God. Carrying on here. Mark chapter 8, verses 11 through 38. Then the Pharisees came and began to argue with Jesus, asking for a sign from heaven to test him. Sighing deeply in his spirit, he said, "Why does this generation look for a sign? I tell you the truth, no sign will be given to this generation." Then he left, got back in the boat, and went to the other side. Now they had forgotten to take bread, except for one loaf they had with them in the boat, and Jesus ordered them, "Watch out, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and the yeast of Herod." So they began to discuss with one another about having no bread. When he learned of this, Jesus said to them, "Why are you arguing about having no bread? Do you still not see or understand? Have your hearts been hardened? Though you have eyes, don't you see? And though you have ears, can't you hear? Don't you remember? When I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets full of pieces did you pick up?" They replied, 12. "When I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many baskets full of pieces did you pick up?" They replied, 7. Then he said to them, "Do you still not understand?" Then they came to Bethsaida. They brought a blind man to Jesus and asked him to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and brought him outside of the village. Then he spit on his eyes, placed his hands on his eyes, and asked, "Do you see anything?" Regaining his sight, he said, "I see people, but they look like trees walking." Then Jesus placed his hands on the man's eyes again, and he opened his eyes. His sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Jesus sent him home, saying, "Do not even go into the village." Then Jesus and his disciples went to the village of Caesarea Philippi. On the way, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" They said, "John the Baptist. Others say Elijah, and still others, one of the prophets." He asked them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter answered him, "You are the Christ." Then he warned them not to tell anyone about him. Then Jesus began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, chief priests, and experts in the law, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He spoke openly about this, so Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But after turning and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are not setting your mind on God's interests, but on man's." Then Jesus called the crowd along with his disciples and said to them, "If anyone wants to become my follower, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and for the gospel will save it. For what benefit is it for a person to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his life? What can a person give in exchange for his life? For if anyone is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of him when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels." Just a note on Jesus' divinity. In Mark 8:38, "For if anyone is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man," who Jesus claimed was himself, "will also be ashamed of him when he comes in the glory of his Father," that is, having the same glory as God the Father, with the holy angels. So, not the speech of a mere man. Also, Mike Winger made a point that in Mark 8:34, if anyone wants to become my follower, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Which, at this point, the followers of Christ did not, they hadn't gone through Jesus being crucified. So, imagine these words hit differently than from when they first heard them to when they were reflecting on them after the crucifixion. Which, yeah. Excuse me. Okay, carrying on. Psalm chapter 42, verses 1 through 11. For the choir director, a maskil of the sons of Korah. As a deer longs for streams of water, so I long for you, O God. I thirst for God, for the living God. I say, when will I be able to go and appear in God's presence? I cannot eat, I weep day and night. All day long they say to me, where is your God? I will remember and weep, for I was once walking along with a great throng to the temple of God, shouting and giving thanks, along with the crowd as we celebrated the holy festival. Why are you depressed, O my soul? Why are you upset? Wait for God, for I will again give thanks to my God for his saving intervention. I am depressed, so I will pray to you while I am trapped here in the region of the upper Jordan, from Hermon, from Mount Mizar. One deep stream calls out to another at the sound of your waterfalls. All your billows and waves overwhelm me. By day the Lord decrees his loyal love, and by night he gives me a song, a prayer to the living God. I will pray to God, my high ridge. Why do you ignore me? Why must I walk around mourning because my enemies oppress me? My enemies' taunts cut into me to the bone, as they say to me all day long, where is your God? Why are you depressed, O my soul? Why are you upset? Wait for God, for I will again give thanks to my God for his saving intervention. Yeah. Even though things look bad and enemies surround me, wait for God, for I will again give thanks to my God for his saving intervention. And finally, Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 17. The one who heeds instruction is on the way to life, but the one who rejects rebuke goes astray. Yeah, and I think that's important to approach our understanding of this world with humility, because, we only have one set of eyes, one set of ears, and yeah, we're not omniscient, so it's important to be humble and to heed instruction and not to reject rebuke. Okay, well, thank you for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.